Not going to say, oh, don't talk to him, don't talk to him. I do think John Kerry should not have been talking to him. I think that's delaying this process a lot. I think he violated the Logan Act, actually. But I think John Kerry speaking to Iran a lot, maybe saying things like, gee, you know, if you wait another 15 months, maybe Trump will lose the election, and then you can deal with a person that's a lot easier than Trump. You'll deal with a stiff that'll give you everything you want. And that makes it a little tougher for me to make a deal, but that's okay.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, President Trump's historic trip to the Asian Pacific has ended with him walking 17 steps into North Korea with Chairman Kim Jong-un in a historic feat. And we're going to look at that plus a whole bunch of other news stories, including Antifa attacking innocent journalists and celebrating it on Twitter, plus a whole lot more. I hope you guys stick around. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you get notified when these videos get posted. So with that, we're going to look at the latest Q post. Obviously, we're still in a holding pattern, June 27th. So exactly 1 month and 1 day from the previous set of Q posts, we had another set that just dropped about 3 days ago, and we've already went over them here. You guys can go check that out on the channel. And today we're going to cover a few of the different breaking news stories and look at some of the Q posts that told us about what was coming. And before we do that, I always like to encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media, because as you guys know, with YouTube and the way that it works, you know, they're doing everything they can to suppress content that they deem as being whatever, not their narrative, not their idea of an authoritative source. So they'll tamp this out. They're going to use their, draconian Orwellian algorithms to suppress information and what I consider like a modern day book burning. But as far as what I've called it, it's not a modern day book burning. It's as far as modern day terms go, it's the equivalent of them just basically going in and erasing their browser history. That's the way I compare it. That's the comparison I make, because what they've done is they've just decided to start erasing content off of the internet that they disagree with or that they deem to be on the border or controversial. So these people are authoritarians. These people are the fascists, the big tech elites, and they're goons in Congress and their lobbyists and their corporate crony buddies. So these people are the ones trying to limit what you can see, the information you have access to. So the way you get around that is come here, watch these videos, share them, hit that share button, as that makes a huge difference. And I always encourage everyone to go, if you're scratch your head going, what is QAnon the Great Awakening? Please come here, watch this video about QAnon the Great Awakening. That'll give you all the information you need. So, President Trump meeting Kim Jong-un at the demilitarized zone face-to-face in a crazy impromptu meeting where President Trump apparently took 17 steps into North Korea. Now, I know what everyone's thinking, like, how would you know that? Well, it's hard to really tell. People have been breaking down the video. And I guess from the moment that he walked into North Korea, he turns around with Kim Jong-un and takes, according to this person, they put this graphic together, 17 steps and then stops and has a handshake. So we all know what 17, the significance of the number is. If you're not familiar, what is the 17th letter of the alphabet? Q. Who is QAnon? Well, I don't know, but I know who I think Q plus is. So this is something that we were looking at. I wanted to share that with you guys because here's the actual video of them going into the demilitarized zone. So here's a video of them meeting. As you guys can tell here, it is pretty interesting to watch. Kim Jong-un comes and they shake, and obviously then they turn around and President Trump first, I guess, has to get invited into North Korea. So Kim invites him in, and then they walk the 17 steps to the other side and have a conversation and then come back. So here's President Trump, as you can see on the video here, taking the first steps into North Korea. And I watched this live last night. Obviously, it was very interesting. And 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, it was about 17 steps exactly. So, yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys and just kind of point that out because I thought it was interesting. And if you go back to what Q's been telling us about, Kim and what's going on, one of the first things that we were told about Kim in North Korea was back in March of 2018. And this isn't the first thing I think about North Korea or any of that, but I think it was one of the first things we got about Kim, talking about him traveling to China. And it says, why was travel impossible in the past? Well, that's a very good question. And I think I know the answer to it. And Q alludes to it in a later post, of course, where it talks about Kim. And then the next post, Q says, Kim to China represents something vital, a key. Now, what I think Q was referring to, obviously, was something that he points out in one of the next posts here. And I believe it's this one right here where it says, and this is from June of 2018, where it says, would you believe Hussein tried to call Kim prior to the summit? This is before President Trump had the North Korea summit where he met with Kim back in 2018. It says, he did not have his updated phone number. 3 North Korean generals released closed the pathway for bad actors, Q. So what we've talked about in the past is the fact that Kim Jong-un's regime is comprised, it's a military dictatorship, and he is obviously at the top, Kim Jong-un, as is the whatever you want to call it, the path of succession from his father and his grandfather. So what's interesting, though, from what Q says here, there are top generals who help basically control Kim Jong-un. And I think what we know now is that it's very likely that there were generals inside of Kim Jong-un's army who were basically in bed with deep state intelligence agencies, globalist factions, you name it. And they were the ones who were basically wielding a huge amount of control over Kim Jong-un behind closed doors. And why were they doing that? Well, the idea is this. The deep state needed to create an existential threat in order to extort the world. I know it sounds crazy, but it sounds like something out of a Bond movie. But the reason why President Obama allowed North Korea to become a rogue nuclear state under his watch and other presidents before him is for no other reason than they needed a global existential threat in order to convince people to continue to give money to these big military industrial complex actors and so on and so forth. It was being used basically as an excuse to hold the world hostage and to drain money out of the coffers of the United States government and into different military organizations' pockets. And this is really something that's been going on for quite some time. But what I think happened with President Trump is when he came to office, the first thing they did was, I think, help Kim Jong-un to get rid of those 3 generals who were basically probably either blackmailing him or controlling him secretly somehow behind closed doors, because there had been a lot of people alluding to the fact that Kim did not have full control over his country. So I thought that was something that was interesting. If we look back at some of the older North Korea posts, especially the ones dealing with Kim here, and here was a funny one that I thought from June 11th, which was right before this other post talking about the generals, and it asked, did Kim look nervous prior to the big meeting with POTUS? And because he was I think it was in Singapore, and Q had alluded to the fact that showing us pictures of this hotel where, of course, Kim Jong-un went and walked through, and they were trying to show him that, his country could have all this wealth and these beautiful places if they just would cooperate. And of course, he didn't look nervous because they've been working behind closed doors for quite some time. And President Trump, I believe, of the United States helped him to get rid of those controlling generals so that they could have peace and they could stop, developing and pushing the limits with their nuclear testing and their nuclear weapons programs. So this is something I think that we're looking at in a totally different light when we think about, you look at the atrocities of what Kim's regime has done, and that's unexcusable. But how much of that was being pushed by other factions inside of North Korea, not necessarily Kim himself. Obviously, you'd say, oh, well, he's the dictator, he's the ruler, but usually it doesn't even work that way, especially in a very closed society like that. You have no idea what's going on, what the power structure looks like behind closed doors. So I thought that was something that definitely warranted taking a second look at, and I thought I'd share it with you here on the channel today as a different take on what the Kim situation is actually doing. So, of course, Q also goes on to tell us that, they were leaking information about how President Trump contacted Kim. And you guys remember the whole story that was out in the news around that time. So they were trying to do everything they can to basically destroy it, the progress that was being made by the president. Now, here's another story that's coming out. Of course, Judicial Watch, Tom Fenton doing great job. Obama's DOJ granted immunity to Hillary Clinton's lawyer who destroyed 33,000 emails. So apparently, the conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch on Friday released testimony from Hillary Clinton's White House liaison at the State Department turned lawyer, Heather Samuelson, and it shows what she told Judicial Watch is at odds with what she previously told the FBI about Hillary's private email use. Samuelson testified under oath to Judicial Watch that the DOJ granted her immunity in June of 2016. Remember, this is around the same time Bill Clinton met with then AG Loretta Lynch on the Phoenix airport tarmac. Heather Samuelson testified under oath to Judicial Watch that contrary to what she told the FBI, she was indeed aware of the fact that Hillary Clinton was using a private email account while she was Secretary of State. It says Samuelson's testimony is part of a court-ordered discovery granted to Judicial Watch by Judge Royce Lamberth, who called Hillary's use of private server one of the gravest modern offenses to government transparency. So, look, we're getting the information through FOIA and different organizations like Judicial Watch who are going and filing the lawsuits and pulling out these documents and these sets of testimony. They're showing us that without a reasonable doubt, we know that Hillary's aides were working to cover up the fact that she had a private email that she was using. We know that they made deals behind closed doors for immunity with FBI officials. This is the biggest corruption scandal of our modern history. There's a reason why President Trump gets up and says that the leftists, the extreme leftists and Democrats are guilty of criminal activities. There's a reason why he says it's treason. There's a reason why he references things like, of course, the Logan Act in regard to what John Kerry's been doing with Iran. So now this is something that's not even new, but it's come up again because President Trump said it. You guys saw in the beginning of this video talking about John Kerry and Iran. And this is from back in September of 2018 when they first started calling out John Kerry for his odd visits with Iran. And then as you saw President Trump lay it out, John Kerry just went to the Iranians and said, look, if you wait 15 months, you're going to have a Democrat in office, and then we're going to give you another $1.5 billion in cash so that you can divide it up into all of our slush funds and we can enrich ourselves because we're a bunch of globalist elitists who hate America and want to destroy it by allowing other countries to just remove our sovereignty, flood our country, violate our borders, violate our sovereignty. That's the leftist agenda. Look at the Democratic debates. Just listen to what the policies that they're pushing. They want to strip you of your private health care and give free Medicaid for life to any person who crosses the border illegally. These people are insane. They want to destroy this country. And they don't want to just destroy it from within. They're helping the rest of the world work to destroy our country. Because they're sick, satanic, evil globalists who have no allegiance to this country. They only have allegiance to their pocketbooks and their donors. And that's it. And their secret societies that they're all involved in. Skull and Bones, 322. What's that mean, John Kerry, George Bush? I mean, to me, it really is sick and disgusting that these snakes in the grass all around us are trying to sell our country out and destroy it from not just within, but from outside outside actors as well. And this is just one example of many. Hillary Clinton's email servers being basically given to the Chinese, the cooperation with Obama administration in Ukraine in setting up President Trump for the Russia hoax, the cooperation with the Five Eyes, Australia and UK, and Christopher Steele in setting up President Trump for the attempted coup. We're at a war with these people. It's not an exaggeration. They are enacting war against our government, and President Trump's doing everything he can to combat it without basically going into an all-out war. So this is where we're at. We have a faction, half of the political faction of our country, basically the Democrats, are just progressive nut jobs, psychopaths who want to destroy everything that we've worked for so long to build. They want to give everything to everyone. They want to just basically give the entire wealth of the United States away to the rest of the world because they don't care. They'll start a foundation, get a slush fund, become a millionaire, and have an unlimited terms in Congress. They don't care about you. They hate you. They look at you as just an inconvenient matter that they have to, get rid of. So this is what we're up against. And, it's funny because President Trump makes jokes about it. And then the fake news goes and runs with it and says it's all. If you watch this, there's a clip here with President Trump and President Putin. And they have this thing. They're sitting there. And one of the reporters yells out, "President Trump, are you gonna tell President Putin not to interfere in our elections?" And President Trump just laughs. It turns around, looks at him, and goes, kind of like puts his finger, wags his finger in President Putin's face and says, "Don't you meddle in our elections." When President Trump and President Putin both know the truth darn well. The truth is that the only people who are trying to interfere in our elections are corrupt, feckless, spineless, extreme leftists and rhinos, Republicans in name only in Congress, and these big tech censor elite globalists, and just a whole bunch of really deranged people. And when you say, like, what do you mean deranged people? What are you talking about? I'm talking about people like Antifa. This is a report of a story that just came out. This Andy Ngo was hospitalized after going to I think this was an Antifa march in Portland, Oregon. And what happened to this poor guy? I mean, this guy's just a very mild-mannered journalist who's been going to cover these Antifa things for quite some time, apparently. And literally, these sick, terroristic psychopaths in Portland, aka Antifa, decided to just beat the living daylights out of this poor man. And they literally celebrated on Twitter afterwards. They just have a great old time talking about Antifa terrorists. Dan Bongino points out here saying, if you had any idea or any doubt that the left worships violence and tyranny, just check out the liberals tweeting in response to the Antifa terrorist hashtag. So hashtag Antifa terrorist was trending on Twitter for quite some time. He says, quote, they're celebrating the violent beating of Antifa or by Antifa of a minority journalist. It's disgusting. This is not America. Look, people are saying like, oh yeah, these are the modern day brown shirts. Yeah, they are. These are the fascists. They call them, it's the most, on its face, it's the most absurd notion to believe for 1 second, besides in these little pea-brain moron imbeciles who join this Antifa and do this kind of stuff. It's impossible for you to think that these individuals believe that they're actually anti-fascist when they're running around the streets like Nazi brown shirts, beating people into submission for their political ideology. So if you disagree with them, you're going to get beat over the head with something, or you're going to get stuff thrown all over you. Right? They were milkshaking him, and now the reports are coming out that the milkshakes they were throwing were actually quick, dry cement. So these people, and you know what I compare it more to? I think it's more closely, a better comparison wouldn't be the brown shirts in the Nazis, because I think it's more, if you look at the policies of the Democrats and the left in general, and especially these super progressive, progressive is a term I hate, but that's what they call themselves, super progressives. These people like Antifa are basically the Mao brigades. And if you guys don't know, back in China, when Mao took over, right? The only way to take over was to basically destroy the past, destroy history, so that he could rewrite it, so that the people of China would say, oh, well, it's okay what Mao is doing. So what Mao did was he basically indoctrinated and started having these big groups, and they were called Mao brigades, and they were basically kids, teenagers, who had been brainwashed and propagandized and basically forced into believing these crazy ideas that they had to go and they had to pull people off the streets, and there was mass executions, there was mass arrests that they were involved in. They would go and round up the intellectual elite, people who would be or critical of the Communist Party or whatever, and they would literally just beat them into submission, publicly shame them and humiliate them. And that's what we have today with the modern Antifa is the modern day Mao brigades, because they are trying to politically they're trying to use violence to push their political agenda, which is communism and socialism. So they are trying to destroy this country from within. We have politicians helping to do it. We have big tech censors helping to do it. And I'm just sitting here like, is anybody else going to put a note or write a report on this? I mean, the media won't even touch it because they're involved too. So you have the corrupt media, the fake news, they're just as bad. You have the corrupt politicians who are feckless, spineless, and corrupt, evil people in a lot of cases. And then you have big tech censors and elites who don't care about anything other than power and money, and they just want to silence you and put their agenda forward because they're better than you. And then you have these Antifa fascists roaming the streets, Mao Brigade 2.0, beating people over the head, effectively trying to push their political agenda with violence. This is sick, disgusting. It makes me sick to my stomach, and it's just, this is really a blight on our society. And no wonder why the world looks at us and says, wow, these people are struggling. And I mean that in the sense of with our own politics, not our economy or anything, but man, we are being attacked on all fronts right now. And this is just getting worse and worse. Of course, here, before we go, one more thing. Twitter put up this tweet that I guess they took down. I don't know how this works. If they were responding to a tweet, whatever, replying to somebody who wrote a tweet saying age is just a number, really. And a lot of people took this the wrong way because it seemed like an endorsement of pedophilia. But does that even really shock you at this point? Because it certainly doesn't shock me whatsoever. These sick people. All right, that's where I'm going to leave it. A few more things before we go. Obviously, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, hit that like button if you guys like this content, want to see me make more, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of this. Another great way to find me is to come over here and find me at justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. You get links to the Q stuff, links to different news websites, links to breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel right here, so you should go check that out. Also, I have a Twitter. If you guys want to come follow me over on Twitter, at JustInformYou on Twitter, the official Just Informed Talk Twitter page. You guys can come over here. It's a great way to have a conversation outside the channel, so I encourage everyone to come here and click that follow button and shoot me a message or a tweet. And hopefully I can check it out and we can have a conversation over here. Also, I have a new channel, the Just Informed Podcast. Yes, it is up. And of course, we have new content. This is a long form interview. I think you guys should all go watch it. It talks a lot about what's happening with big tech and some things that are coming up. So, yeah, I encourage everyone to come here, the Just Informed Podcast. Links to everything will be in the description. Also, don't forget to come here if you want to help out the channel financially. Obviously, there's a couple ways to do it. Patreon, patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website. You come here, click this button to become a patron. All you do is set it, and it's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it, and know you're helping create content on this channel. Without you guys, I would have never made it this far. So you guys are what keep this channel alive. So thank you so much for your support. And also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. That really helps out as well. So thank you so much. Links to everything will be below in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. So tonight, we're going to, for this segment, we're going to use the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 16 and 17. And I'm going to share this with you, talking about how being righteous requires us living by faith. It says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is God's power for salvation to everyone who believes. For in it, God's righteousness is revealed from faith to faith, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith." So remember, God calls us to live a righteous life. That's our calling. And in living a righteous life, we must embrace the faith. in God, in the Holy Spirit, in Jesus Christ, and in our eternal salvation, and in our forgiveness of sins. See, this is the gift that we have, and it's not just a gift we're supposed to take and hoard all to ourselves and not give to anyone. It's a gift that we're supposed to take and put out into the world. This is how we cure the problems that are ailing our society. This is how we stand up against this evil, fascistic, Antifa type organizations, or big tech, corrupt politicians, whatever you want to call it, right? This is how we stand up to them. We stand up to them by living a righteous life that is led by faith. That is all we can do. Everything else is pretty much out of our control and in God's hands. And if you trust in God's plan and you turn yourself over to God, no matter what happens, you're saved, you're blessed, you have eternal life. What more do you need? Do you need millions of dollars? Do you need a mansion? Do you need yachts? Do you need power? Do you need lustful things? Do you need all these other things in life? No, you just need that. And if you spread that message to your family and friends and coworkers and people you don't know, people you meet in the world, put that seed, like a mustard seed, plant that around in the hearts of those around you and in your own heart, and have faith in that mustard seed that it will grow into a strong faith that you can show to the world and spread into the world, because that's what we're called to do through Christ Jesus. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Obviously, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Also, hit it, punch it, smash it, tap it, bop it. I can't think of other words, but hit the like button if you guys want to. Let me know you guys like this content and want me to make more. So that's going to be it for me. Once again, thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.